Okay, this is a fun video. Fun to make. Hope it's fun to watch. So I don't know how long I'll be able to make this video for. I'm gonna basically just make it until I have to stop because um, I'm door dashing right now, and if I get an order, I'm gonna have to stop recording. Is basically the gist of it. That's the skinny. So anyway, but I wanted to. So I have a big video in mind I want to make, and it's kind of a long story. It's a long life story. It's a long personal life story, and yeah, I'm hoping that I don't share too much. I'm gonna try not to share too much, because too much is too much, right? Too much is too much. So I don't want to spend too much time on it. I don't want to take too much time making it, but at the same time, it is a really enjoyable experience to tell stories, especially, and not just like stories that are made up. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about made up stories. It's really fun to tell true stories. It just is. And I think that it's very interesting, and I think that I think that these are things that people, I don't know, I feel like you can enjoy it. But anyway, so this video is to kind of do like a little intro on that whole thing, and depending on how long I'm sitting here waiting for an order, I might begin to tell that story. I think I actually will begin to tell that story because we'll see though. I can get an order at any time, so it's fun. We'll see what happens here. We will see what happens. Of course, it's a little bit of a spoiler because you already know how long this video is when you watch it, because it will already have been made once you watch it. But anyway, it's interesting. So I'm going to get into this story. This is part one. Or maybe this is a teaser. Who knows? That's the fun part. Who knows? But anyway, so I want to talk about something. This is my big story. And this will be a two-parter, most likely two-part, maybe three-part, hopefully just, two, or, just hopefully two. Or, I don't care. I don't care if it's 2 or 3. Who cares? But anyway, so here's the story, okay? I'm not sure how much I want to cover, okay? And I already started making the story on YouTube, on camera and videos, but it didn't work. And I had to just abandon all hope of making that at the time. So some of this I've already said, so hopefully that'll help me keep it more trimmed and better told, so it's not too much information. And so they don't overshare, basically. So don't overshare. But anyway, so back in 2015, I realized I was going to move back home to Maryland. I lived in Reno, and I had moved to Reno in 2009. And I moved because of my my girlfriend at the time, my serious girlfriend at the time, and we eventually got married, and things did not work out, and I felt alone and stuff like that, and lonely, and just like, what the heck's going on? What the heck's my life? This is gonna be my life forever unless I change something. That's how I felt. So I need to change something. And that's a kind of a recurring theme. So that topic right there ties into my main topic in the main story that comes a little bit down the line in the future. So I left because I felt alone and lonely and sad and stuff like that. And I spent a year in Reno by myself. By myself, I mean like living alone. I had a roommate, but living by myself, not in a relationship. And all my family is here in Maryland. So I realized one day, I was like, I want to move back to Maryland. Or I think I want to move back to Maryland because I think I'm starting to feel a little bit lonely and feeling kind of empty. I want to get closer with my dad, and I want to get closer with my brother. And I know that if I move back home to Maryland, I can do that. Proximity, and and practicality. And so that's what I did. I moved back to Maryland, and I got a job working at Acme, a grocery store I used to work at in the past. And this was designed to be a temporary job, and eventually I was living with my dad when I moved back, and so I had additional security, mental security at least, in my mind about things. Like, I didn't feel like, it's not like, see, if I lived in my own apartment and was, making money and had to pay, if you live in an apartment, you have to pay your rent, of course, right? But I was living with my dad, and it was set up as a temporary arrangement. He wasn't charging me rent or anything like that. And so which is great because that allowed me time to figure things out. And in other words, I didn't feel like wow, I'm going to get kicked out of here anytime and I'm just going to be out on the street. I never felt that way. I never really felt that way. I guess I felt that way a little bit towards the end, but that's another story. Um, but, so I felt good, and I had my own room. I had all this money that I just cashed out from my 401k, and that helped me have more of an identity, or feel like I had an identity. Because I spent it on things that I wanted, things like for my room, things to give myself a sense of me around me, you know what I mean? And I didn't really have that in Reno. I didn't really feel like I'd ever had that. It was brand new, really. And so that was nice. And then one day I was just thinking about work, and I was working at Acme, and I didn't really know where I was going to go next for a job. And it was not really it's kind of a dead-end job, because it's just like, this is just a grocery store. You're never going to make enough to support yourself here unless you go into management. And I was like, that's not what I want to do, because I don't want to do that for the rest of my life. I don't want to do that for the rest of my life. And so I'm working up an appetite telling this story. I haven't had breakfast yet because I'm waiting for orders. But this water was leaking. But give me a minute. So I was in a place where I could sit and think about things and figure things out, which was wonderful. That's what I needed, really. I'm just kind of realizing that now for the first time. It's crazy. And so what I was thinking, and I was watching this guy called Ralph Smart on YouTube, and he was talking about, like, he's trying to be an inspirational guy and trying to help people figure things out. He's had his own philosophies about things, how to figure things out. You have to do a job that you love. You have to figure out what you love, and then find a job doing that. And I can't remember. I think this thought came from his philosophy or his videos, but it also came from my own thoughts, you know. And how do you like that? Pow, just randomly pow. But I decided, I was like, I need to figure out something that I love. What are the things that I love? And then I need to figure out how to work in those things. And I came up with a list of things. And I think the first one was really easy. I could get a job doing that. And I wasn't quite sure about it, but it seemed like the right thing to do. It seemed like I was going in the right direction. And then the other two were just like not really that attainable, I guess, or they just weren't really, I can't remember what they were, but they just weren't really working. So it was, the thing I came up that I loved was coffee, which I'm in a different world now, of course, because I'm a Latter-day Saint and we don't drink coffee pretty much. But which is great. I'm very, very happy. I'm happier to be in this world than to be in that world. I'm very, very happy, ultimately. I do miss the taste and the smell sometimes. However, it's much more worth it to be in this world than that world, basically. So I decided to work for a coffee company, and it was up and coming. It was like this. Here's Maryland. It's all country. It's kind of boring, in my opinion, and where I was at the time. It's like, what's going on here? Nothing but the same thing that's been here since before when I lived here. Not very much. But here's Rise Up. It's this coffee company. It's like this up and coming thing. It's like this cool hangout place. It's like, this is the cool place. This is where the cool people come to hang out. This is where the cool people come to hang at the cool place. And so I got a job there, out of my comfort zone. I never had any experience working. And I'd worked grocery store jobs, and I worked at Target for a brief time in between. But like, that was it. That was my whole career. I worked like 5 years at Acme, 5 years at Smith's, 10 years at grocery stores. No other experience, really. So being a barista at a coffee shop was definitely out of my realm of normalcy. And I knew it was one that wasn't going to make me a lot of money, but I believed that, here's the thing that I forgot. I forgot this. I'm so glad I'm remembering right now. This is so, 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 so helpful. I knew it didn't pay very much, but I believed that because I loved it, things would change and things would grow. In other words, if you work hard enough at something long enough, the universal concept of like the American dream, you will get good at it, you will grow, you will progress, and eventually you own the company, right? That's kind of like how that goes, right? And I just kind of lost sight of this vision and this thought throughout the way. I was a barista and it was going good. But I think one of my biggest detractors through this whole period of time was maybe there's two things. I got caught up in like, I don't even want to talk about this really. I got caught up in the universe and like crystals and like the metaphysical and things like that. And I also got caught up smoking weed. And both those things together was a bad combination. And I was having a lot of things I was in denial of. I was in denial of who I was at the time, my age, everything, like life. I was just in denial of life. I was not looking at things seriously. I should have been looking at things like, look, here's the deal, Justin. You know, you need to figure things out. But I couldn't really put that pressure on me because I felt like it was coming from everywhere already anyway. But anyway, so I kind of lived in my own little world working for this company for a while and was barista, and I was loving it. And every day was a slow day, and I was very meditative. And it was like, you know, and to get to the point where I was like, man, I'm kind of bummed. I feel kind of lame. I kind of miss Reno. I miss my friends. I miss life. I miss love. I feel like you have to be such a certain way here in order to fit in. And I didn't really like that. And it was hard for me to realize that. I was just going through the motions. And I decided to move back to Reno, and I was going to, and then I met this girl, and she liked me. And then I felt liked, and I felt seen, and I felt appreciated, and I felt like, you know. And so we started dating, and I wasn't really that into it. Like I was, and I wasn't, back and forth. And long story short, I didn't move back to Reno. And I kind of regret that in a certain way, but ultimately I guess I don't, because who knows what would have happened. But I don't know. I probably would have come back to Maryland anyway. Again, I'm sure I would. But so I stayed, and then that summer I started the coffee company in like July, or in January, and then later that summer I was going to move to Reno, and I told Rise Up that I told them, I'm getting ready to move to Reno, I'm planning on moving back, and they're like, hey, we just lost this guy doing this position, and we want to extend this position to you. Would you be interested in doing it? We want to keep you here. We think you're good. They were like so careful with what they said because they didn't want to say too much. They didn't want to like flatter me too much, or they didn't want to be like, you know, hey Justin, we think you're really awesome and we don't want to lose you, so could you please do this job for us? They didn't say that. They said that in different words, and so they kind of held back from certain things. And I don't know, whatever, blah blah blah. Anyway, I said yes, and it was a delivery job. It was driving the delivery van. It was more money, it was more responsibility, and I felt flattered, I felt honored, all this kind of stuff. I let it all go to my head, and I was just like, oh wow, they like me. And it's like, it was just such a different world working there, and like it was kind of surreal. Rise Up, no offense to Rise Up or anyone there, but it was just its own thing, and there was a lot of good things about it, but it was just so much to unpack. You know, it's just so much to unpack, so much, and a lot of politics and stuff like that, and just like, I don't know, you just had to be a certain way all the time, and then people acted like, well, why wouldn't you be this way? What way would you be? You know? And so I was like, oh. But anyway, I became the delivery person, and it was a lot of responsibility, and it was intimidating, and it was hard, but I knew I was going to do it, and I was doing it. I was making money. I was making a little bit more money than before. And I started getting lonely. I started feeling like, because I was on the road all day by myself. And they keep track of me, or they keep touch with me and everything like that, the bosses and stuff like that. But I felt so disconnected. I felt so lonely. I felt so just out there. Here I am. I'm just out on my thing. I'm out on my own. But I kept believing deep down, I believed that, you know, just keep doing this. Things are going to work out. Things are going to work out. I know things are going to work out. Something's going to give. Something's going to change. And things are just going to work out. I know things are just going to work out. I just never would give up on that, right? Never. Because I believed that things would work out. I really did. And so I went through a lot of trials and just, oh man, dogging it through some rough days. And the smoking weed part was it was getting really bad, and it was getting my friendships and things with my friends were not really working out. Some really hard things happened at home. Like, when I say really hard, I mean really, 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 really hard things happened. Like my grandparents getting kicked out of their house, and then not being able to move back, and then me being kicked off of my mom's property. I was living there at the time, and my sister being kicked out as well, and all this controversy of all of us having to leave and none of us being able to stay there anymore, including my grandparents kicked out from their own home on their own property. and just feeling like, what the freaking heck? What are we supposed to do? This is like the biggest, what the heck are we supposed to do? I have no idea what to do. I am so distraught. But life goes on, right? And you have to keep going, right? Right. So, okay, just got to keep going, I guess. You know, and so I was really lost. And I moved in with my sister, which was like, I was the leader kind of in a way, which is crazy because I was kind of lost. And, but anyway, she still looked to me and she helped me and I lived with her and, things were kind of crazy. But I was working this job and still the same delivery job. And I was burned out and I didn't really know it. I didn't know how to know it. You know, I just didn't know. There's so much I didn't know. I just didn't know what to do about my situation. I was just like, oh, what the frick am I supposed to do? And this is like the main reason I wanted to make this video. And I'm glad it's only one part so far. Yay, woohoo! You know, but yeah. And so, you know, all this stuff was happening and I was just in this between a rock and a hard place and just didn't really know what to do anymore. Some really bad things that happened with my my relationship with my dad living at his house, and like things were strained and I had to move out and everything, and it was just crazy and just so much drama and all this stuff happening. And I think if I had just stopped smoking weed, if I could have just stopped smoking weed, I guess I would have if I could have, but I don't feel like I could have, I guess. I don't know. I was just struggling, and it wasn't making things easier. It was making things more complicated and harder. And my dear Mama Rose died that year, the beginning of that year, before I worked at the coffee job. So many different things were happening. So much. I was suddenly, I had gone, wow, life is good. I'm just living life, and life is good in Reno, to going, oh my gosh, I am a freaking drop in the pan, and the pan is on high, and I'm sizzling, and I'm burning. I'm going, ow, ow, ow. I'm getting shot everywhere. Like, that was the difference. It was so much. And it was like, here I am in this little town of Maryland. Nothing going on. I'm making hardly any money. I don't have my own place. You know, I'm struggling to stay afloat. I'm struggling to keep my bills paid. I'm struggling. And like, this is just so crazy. And I feel alone. I feel lonely. I feel burned out. I don't know what the heck to do. I don't know where my life is going. I don't know where my direction is. I don't know. I don't have a relationship with God. Yeah, I don't have a relationship with God at this time. Like, all this crazy stuff, you know. Just dealing with things and trying to make sense of things and trying to figure out what the heck am I supposed to do. Feeling powerless, feeling lost, feeling like I just have to keep doing this. This is just, what the heck? I'm just supposed to keep doing this. And eventually I met this lady. And, I mean, I broke up with a girl that I was dating for a while. And that was ugly. And I was like, I was all in this headspace, just about like all this headspace of like just certain things. I got caught up in my head and all this stuff. And it's just lame, you know, trying to figure out what's going on, you know, feeling so great and then not feeling great and then feeling like an empty shell of death, basically. And I met this girl, this lady. She was not a girl, she was a full-grown woman. She was older than me. And I felt like, wow, someone understands. Someone knows what I'm going through somehow. I just feel like I need to talk to this lady or something like that. Or I just like, I don't know what it is, but I feel like I need to talk to her. And then there was also the desire to not be alone and to be with someone, to be in a relationship with someone. And I ended up getting into a relationship with her. And I ended up moving in with her. And we lived together. And then we moved. We moved across Maryland to the Western Shore. And life became even crazier. I mean, you know, at least it was moving along. I was moving along my journey, and yes, there were some crazy times that did get crazier to certain extents with other people. Crazy experiences. But I did get out of that jam and that rut that I was in with the job, where I was just feeling like so dead end, you know, so dead end. And that was a microcosm of where my life really was in the bigger picture. But I just thought it was the job, right? But it wasn't just the job. It was my life. I felt really lost. And maybe this sounds so sad. I'm sorry if this sounds so sad. But I was just really lost, you know? And so I just really struggled. And but I got out of that job. And when I got out of that job, it was a huge relief. I was like, yes, I'm getting out of here, yes. And I was talking to my girlfriend at the time, Jen, and talking about things. And yeah, it was great. And she understood what I was going through. She knew what I was going through. She was like, yeah, I totally get it. I get it. I get it. And then we started getting to the point where we were talking trash about Rise Up. And I didn't really like that too much, but I kind of needed it in a way. It felt like normal. It felt like, but now I'm in a new territory. It's like, wow, I have crossed over to the other side. I have crossed over to the dark side. I am willing to blaspheme Rise Up, right? Because the whole thing is, if we work from it, you can't say anything bad about them ever. You can never have a bad opinion about them. That was like my impression. That was like that's what I thought, right? And which makes sense. You don't want to blaspheme the place you work for, right? It's just not optimal, I guess. And anyway, so yeah, a lot of crazy things happening. But the part I really wanted to zero in on was being in that job and feeling just lost and distressed and just feeling out there. Just out there. I was just out there. Every day. On the road. Hundreds of miles a day. 100 miles a day at least. Every day. And just feeling like, I think again, I'm trying to show you guys, I'm trying to share what I felt then with you now. It was just like, well, let's just do this, I guess. Let's just do it. I guess this is all there is, you know. I don't know. I'm at a loss. I don't know. Today's gonna be a better day, I don't know. I was always feeding on the next new thing, whatever it was, and trying to like satisfy myself with that next new thing. And I got into the habit before where I would smoke weed before coming to work sometimes. And it was like, that part of that felt pretty bad, because I was like, wait, I shouldn't really do that. I shouldn't be high while I'm working. That's just wrong. And then I did that a couple times, and I smoked too much, and I got too high. And I still had to come to work. And I felt horrible, because I felt exposed, vulnerable. I felt like everybody could see right through me. And people even said that. They said, well, we can see right through you. You're an easy guy to see through. They didn't mean it in a bad way, but they said that. And all of this stuff, you know. And then it got to the point where when I was working that delivery job where I would smoke on the job. And that felt terrible, of course, but in another way it felt good, because it felt like I need to do this. I need to get away from this. I need to get away from this. I need to get away from what this is, and I need to get out of here. And so that's what I did. And but anyway, I kind of, the main thing I wanted to talk about with this whole entire thing is being somewhere where you feel stuck and where you feel like you're not supposed to be there. And that is hard to figure out sometimes. Sometimes you just don't know if you're supposed to be there or not. Sometimes we don't even have the ability to figure that out, I feel. Like sometimes we just don't even know, and it's impossible for us to figure that out. But I just want to inspire you today, hopefully, to just know that there are really good things in this world. There are really great places to be. There are really good places to be. And you don't have to stay in the bad ones. Like, you just don't. And sometimes challenges are necessary in life, yes, because they help us grow, and because they give way to a new good place. But other times, you've been there too long, you've been doing it too long, you've given it too much, and you're just sitting there waiting and praying that things are going to change. And they're not changing, and they haven't changed. So maybe you need to do something different. And I'm not trying to convince anyone to like give up their faith or anything like that. I'm just saying that sometimes you're just not in the right place, and there is a right place. And then the way to get to that right place is to make a change. We never know what's going to happen next until we make that change. So whatever that change is, I encourage you to make that change. Just do it. Just figure it out. Just do it. And I know that's so hard, but I just want to tell you that you can do it. And I did it, and it was ugly. It was an ugly process. Where that led to was a rough road, and it led to some really ugly things, some really horrible things. But I learned. I figured things out. I learned the hard way. And I'm still learning the hard way. I'm still learning. I'm not learning the hard way like I was then. I've definitely learned a lot better about things. But I am still growing. I am still learning. And yeah, so that's the point of this whole video. That's the point of this whole video. I just want to tell you guys that, things do get better. Things will get better. But you have to make a change. You have to be willing to change. You have to be willing to say, hey, maybe this isn't the right road. Maybe I'm not supposed to be here. Maybe I'm not supposed to be doing this. Maybe. And then ask God, like, if you have a relationship with God, just ask Him, Just pray and ask Him. He'll give you an answer. He'll help you. He will help you. I know He'll help you. He helps me. He'll help you. He helps so many others all the time. It takes faith to have a relationship with Him, but you can do it. I know you can. He is real. He will have a relationship with you if you're willing to have one with Him. And that's a whole thing in and of itself. That takes effort too. But you know what? It's worth it. So I want to tell you that. It's worth it. Keep going.